Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to another Transfer Portal Georgia podcast. Welcome, dog fans. Welcome, college football fans. Even Alabama fans, we'll welcome you too. We'll talk about it a little bit. I'm sure you can learn a little bit about what we're going to say today. So, welcome, everybody. I got my man Doug with me. Doug, how are you?
Doing well, doing well. The last few weeks have been pretty relaxing. Everything's been clinched up, which is good. The main worry now is this week, of course.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
like this week and whatever comes after the fact. So,
Yeah, it's definitely been it's probably been the most stress-free football season I've ever experienced. I mean, besides week one against Clemson, that's probably the most stressful we've had all season long. I mean, ever since then, it's probably been wrapped up by the first time, by halftime anyway. So, but that's definitely going to change. We anticipate, or at least it looks that way, it's going to change this weekend. We get another matchup in a championship type setting with our rival Alabama. They're kind of becoming rivals at this point, right? For a while we weren't really playing them very much. We played them in the SEC championship game in 2012. Other than that, I mean, we played them every few years, but now, I mean, this is the third time in 4 or 5 years that we played them. So fourth time in 5 years. We played them last year too. So we're trying to play them a little bit more consistently, which is what you want. I mean, you want to play Alabama every year. So let's just dive right into it. So what are we looking for this week? What do you think is going to be the matchups to watch? What's the storyline coming into this weekend?
No, definitely. So few areas I want to look at. A lot of it is actually in the trenches, both ways. I do think that our front seven can attack Bama's offensive line. It's probably the weakest offensive line in a while that we have faced Alabama with. Alabama has that we have faced, and our front seven's amazing. So I do think that we can provide the pressure, even with Adam Anderson being away from the team. We're not going to get into that because not getting into that. Anyways, so we can provide pressure, and Bryce Young was getting sacked. He was running a lot against Auburn, and like we've seen the offensive line struggle a lot, even in other games as well. So that's one area you want to look at. And then on the other side, our offensive line, while solid, there's probably been weakness whenever Warren Erickson is there. Like we don't get as much push when we're trying to run the ball. Pass pro is pretty decent, but again, it's probably not the best. Like I feel like that's another reason why Kirby stayed with Stetson, because Stetson can extend plays and can move a little bit in case it does collapse. Will Anderson, and the Alabama front seven can still pressure. Like Alabama leads SEC in sacks, so like you always have to be wary, and that's probably one key area I'm going to look at. Trenches as well, like one or the other. There are weaknesses both Alabama and Georgia has, so like always in these matchups, trenches do matter. Like that's one, and then another one I want to get into is Stetson versus the Alabama secondary. Stetson, he's been like, he throws well. Like I think he like one of the top quarterbacks in yards per attempt, yards per completion, all of those stats. Like he's been great, but also like we haven't faced a defense as talented as Alabama in the secondary, and that's probably Saban's strong suit is scheming up secondary like coverages, exploiting him like we saw last year, where he did make some great throws. The throw to James Cook, Burton down the middle in the end zone, but can be exploited. And also they have tape on them. They have tape on Stetson too, so it's like they'll probably just not bring up the same packages that they did last year, not the same packages they did last week, or like take out plays. And I'm just curious how he can react and process reads quick enough. Like I said earlier with front seven, if he could do that to the best of his ability, I do think that we should be able to pull away with the win.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think that, so what's interesting when you mention about Stetson Bennett is that we've seen the matchup last year, like you talked about. We saw what he did against Alabama last year. And for a while, I mean, for you know 2.5 quarters, essentially, we were in that game. I mean, we led at halftime. I think it was 24-21 at halftime, and he was making plays. And it just felt like the game got a little bit too big for him at the end. I feel like like you said, Nick Saban kind of changed it up a little bit. They schemed a little bit to kind of defend against them a little bit better. And I feel like the game got a little bit too big for him at the end there. But I will say though, it's this year's Stetson Bennett and last year's Stetson Bennett. It's impressive the improvement and the growth that he's made over the course of the last year. Would I trust Stetson Bennett last year in the SEC championship game against Alabama? Absolutely not. Do I trust him now? I do, and then just because not only is the offense better, what he's been able to do. We talk about Georgia's defense versus Alabama's offense. That's been the main storyline all week. But Georgia's offense is sneaky good. Like I think they're second in the or they lead the SEC in yards per what was the stat? I forgot the stat, but it was they're up there. They're top 5 in SEC in pretty much every category. They're second in scoring. They're up there in yards per game. So they're sneaky good. And Stetson Bennett has been a big part of that. What you said, making the game, extending plays with the running game with his legs. So I'm very interested to see what like you mentioned, Saban's defense, what he can do to kind of, scheme for Stetson and what happens there. And, maybe we see a reversal of what we've been seeing the last couple of years against Alabama is what if Stetson struggles and they bring in JT in? How does that change the dynamic of the game at that point, right? When you have somebody like JT Daniels, who's very capable of in his own right to score points. I mean, I think that's a good problem to have. And it's not something we've had the last couple of years, save maybe when we had Justin Fields behind Jake Fromm. But we have that dynamic now where if Stetson struggles on Saturday, we have the ability to bring in JT Daniels and succeed with this offense. So, and one thing I'm really looking forward to is one storyline that we need to look at is George Pickens. He played last week, very little. He had one catch for like 5 yards. What is going to be his impact on Saturday? Do you anticipate him playing a lot? What do you think is going to be his impact at the end of the game on Saturday?
So for Pickens, honestly, I think he's still like in a holding pattern. They're not going to let him go. Like, I don't expect him to be full blast until January or late December or whatever bowl game that we do end up going to. It's just the sheer nature of him just coming back this late in the season. To be honest, I honestly didn't expect him back at all. Like, then again, I also didn't think that this would be a year that we're this good at the same time. So that's why I didn't expect him to be trying to come back or be back. I thought he was going to preserve his draft stock. But thank goodness he's back. But like I said, I think he's going to play a limited amount of snaps. I do think that Bowers is going to take most of the targets. McConkey, honestly, the one area that Monken, like credit to Graham Coffee here from Dogs Out West, the one area that he mentioned was that you can just use Bowers and Washington to pick up on the Alabama defense. Linebackers, Henry Toto, who's kind of mentioned that he's weak in coverage. Last year, we kind of used Kenny McIntosh on him a lot in the passing game and like just exploit their linebackers using the tight end. So I would expect to see more Darnell, expect to see more Brock. I expect to see a little bit of Fitzpatrick. And then in terms of receivers, like I said, McConkey's probably going to be a big one. Jermaine Burton's been healthier, so I expect him to be. Kiaris hasn't really been healthy like that all year, so I don't expect him to be in the targets as much. A.D. Mitchell is option, although he was kind of not the greatest last week. But like I said, he's been proven, he's able to score a touchdown in the Plains. Like, it's all proven. But like in terms of like Pickens and Blaylock, I don't really expect them to be key contributors, at least until playoff game or New Year's Six game or whatever game we do end up playing in January. It's just the sheer nature of their injuries and how late they came back. So
yeah, and the good thing that we do have, was it a month, essentially a month. I mean, let's be honest. We're going to be, unless we get completely obliterated, and even at that point, I don't think it'll matter. I think we're going to be in the playoff. I think there's pretty much a virtual lock to be in the playoff. I mean, there's nowhere near. They're not going to knock us down 4 or 5 spots if we lose, especially if we lose close. So I think that it's definitely, we're probably locked in, virtually locked into the playoff. So the playoff games are on the 31st, on New Year's Eve, and then on New Year's Day. So that gives us about a month in preparation to get these guys up to speed. So I agree with you 100%. I think that if they don't make an impact now, and we can survive and we can get through this game against Alabama, I'd be very careful playing Georgia, the Georgia Bulldogs with a healthy George Pickens and a healthy Don Blaylock, kind of Darnell Washington kind of back in the he's been kind of getting slowly back into his normal form as well. So yeah, I think we're getting the right pieces back at the right time. And I think that's something that we hadn't seen the last few years when we kind of get into this game. When we get to the SEC championship game, in 2000, when we played in 2019, we weren't, I mean, we were kind of reeling a little bit. We were winning a lot of close games. I think we beat Texas A&M like 14-7 or 21, like in the rain. And it was just, the games we weren't dominating games. And we went into the SEC championship game against, that historic historic LSU offense. And we got crushed, right? So this is the first time that we've kind of we're on the right track where the momentum is going up going into the SEC championship game against a team that hasn't looked that great. I mean, last week against Auburn, they had 3 points for 59 and a half minutes. They had 3 points. They had 3 points at 2 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. So, but at the same time, it's Alabama, right? So we got to give them credit for that. But I don't know. It just seems that Alabama has not looked like Alabama this year. And they started the season amazing against Miami, and they had those few weeks where they were dominating football. Then I guess they hit that game against A&M, and then ever since then, they haven't really gotten back to what they were before that game. So on the other hand, you have Georgia, who's been dominating week in, week out, and we've seen our defense kind of have some lapses over the last few weeks. I think the game against Georgia Tech kind of calmed the nerves a little bit for me. Against Tennessee, we kind of struggled a little bit early on. The defense, they drove right down the field and scored a touchdown the first drive, and they kind of were driving the ball down on our defense for a while until we kind of tightened up after that. And I think that kind of woke everybody up. It's like, well, we need to tighten up, and we can't do that against Alabama. So I think all signs for me point to Georgia winning. I don't want to go as far as say that Georgia's going to win convincingly, even though there's a part of me that thinks that we might. I think it's going to be a 24-10 type game, maybe 27-17 or 27-14, that type of game. But at the same time, I'm ready to get my soul crushed and have Alabama score a game-winning touchdown with 1 minute left. And because that's what happened. Even if we think about the last 4 times that Georgia and Alabama have played in a championship level game. We had 2012 SEC championship game where they scored on a late game winning touchdown by Amari Cooper, and Aaron Murray and company marched all the way down the field, got stopped at the 5-yard line, and Chris Conley got tackled inside the 5 when the clock ran out. We had a timeout. We didn't use it.
We didn't have a timeout.
No, we didn't have a timeout, but we could have spiked the ball, but they decided not to spike the ball and reset or whatever. And then follow that, obviously we all know what happened in 2018 in the college football playoff championship game, a national championship game, obviously with Tua and Devontae Smith. And yeah, let's just not even get there. We know what happened. And then the next year again,
we know what happened. We know what happened.
We know what happened, right? And it's all 3 games, Georgia had a double-digit lead, and in all 3 games they blow it. And I think Reese Davis was on a Georgia podcast, a few weeks ago, and said, when Georgia finally beats Alabama, It's not going to be a nail biter. They're going to beat them by 50. They're going to exercise all the demons that they've experienced the last few years against them, and they're going to beat them by 50. And there's no better time to do that than now. And I feel like Georgia's going to go in there and make a statement and say, we're the best team in college football. And even now, I feel like they're getting a little bit disrespected against Alabama. I feel like a lot of people are already on that chip again that, oh, Alabama's going to win. Alabama's going to beat Georgia. So I feel like we're going to go in there and win. My prediction, we're going to go in there and win by at least 10, maybe 14, maybe 17 points. We're going to make a statement and go into the college football playoff and not have to worry about playing them again. Because if we lose, we're both going to be in the playoffs. And then who knows what the rankings are going to be at that point. Will they pull us at 1, or will they put us at 3? Will they put us at 4? And then we have to worry about playing them again. So if you beat them now, you don't have to worry about playing them again. It's over with. You're done with Alabama. You don't have to worry about Alabama. And then you can focus on Michigan or Oklahoma State or Cincinnati or whoever else makes Notre Dame, whoever makes the playoffs. So I think that's what we need to do. Georgia needs to go in there and make a statement and show everybody that we are the best team in the country. Not only are we the best team in the country, we have a historic team. We talk about 2020 Alabama, 2019 LSU. I think 2021 Georgia can be in that conversation. They have all the stats, all the accolades they've had all season long with their defense, and they need to show that this weekend. I think Kirby Smart, is this going to be the time that Kirby Smart gets the monkey off his back and beat Nick Saban? And I fully expect them to do so. I hope I'm not wrong. I hope they don't pull this tape up and say, what an idiot I was. But I really do feel it's going to be a 14 to 17 point game.
I pray that I have the confidence that you do. I pray. I will still say Georgia will win, but I will say it's going to be a single digit win. I'll have it at, I'll do 28-24, Georgia. Yeah, no, because Bama right now is reeling a little bit. Brian Robson, he's day-to-day, so he's not going to be in the championship game 100% healthy. And Bama has depth. It's not really proven. But like I said, with that one quarterback, lefty quarterback, whose name we shall not mention, it doesn't matter if they're proven or not. If they play against us, they usually do end up going off. But that's beside the point. My other worry is, at least Alabama offensively, is Mechie / Jameson versus whoever is at star. They're going to try to mismatch everybody that's at star, whether it's a not healthy Christopher Smith or it's Latavius Brini, who we've known as be prone for coverage breakdowns, or if it's William Poole, who is the better in coverage, but still it's not the typical, that's probably the weakest position, at least, that we have. And like I said, although Bill O'Brien hasn't been the greatest, but I feel like that's one mismatch that they'll take care of. I do think that at least one of the receivers will have a day, but it won't be enough, because I do think we'll get enough stops. It'll be 28-24. I hope it's more Georgia, but I can never be that confident in picking that large of a championship game implication, at least the score. So, yeah, no, nerves everywhere.
Yeah, no, that definitely nerves everywhere. You kind of think back and you just get that PTSD. What I hate about what's happened the last few years is it's constantly in your head, and it happened. It happened the same thing with the Braves this year, right? Against the Dodgers. We saw what happened last year when they blew a 3-1 series lead, and they had another 3-1 series this year, and all you're thinking about is that recurring thought: they're going to do it again. They're going to blow it. They're going to blow it. They're going to blow it. And that thought keeps creeping in my head too this week. It's like, man, we're going to do this. Are we really going to do this again? We're really gonna lose to Alabama again. And like I said, when I'm predicting us to win by 10, 14, 17 points, even when we go up 10, 14, 17 points, we've seen them do that before and they blow it. So if we go up there 21-7, I am not going to relax. I'm not going to be confident. I'm going to be extremely terrified and nervous wreck. But yeah, I think it's going to be. I think it's time. It's now or never for Kirby and Georgia. It's now or never. You know, you have to show them. You show the country that you are the best team in the country. You're not afraid of your former, your former coach, your former boss, and that still has been broken. We talked about these assistant coaches who can't beat Nick Saban. That seal is broken because Jimbo Fisher beat him, right? So that narrative is no longer a thing. So you can get that money. You can kind of relax on that and say, oh, none of his assistants have ever beat him. Well, now that's not a thing anymore because they have, and I think that kind of also helps, a little bit. And I feel like Kirby kind of knows that in the back of his head. He knows what's at stake for him personally against Nick Saban. So I do think I really want them to make a statement and have that type of game. We haven't given up more than 17 points all season, and we played some pretty good offenses. And there's nothing that Alabama has done the last 4 or 5 weeks. We saw what they did against Arkansas. We saw what they did against Auburn. We saw what they did against even Tennessee. They struggled, for a good portion of that game. They didn't dominate Tennessee for a while until late. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen. I trust our defense. I trust Stetson Bennett enough to score. I think 24 points will be enough for us to win. So I do think we'll win 20. Like I said, 28. I think it's 24-10 or 28-14, something like that. And we'll be hoisting that trophy at the end of Saturday night. And if we don't, I don't know, man. I don't even want to think about that. But it does feel a little bit better to know the fact that even if we do lose, we will still be in the playoff. When we played LSU, when we played Alabama, when we played Auburn, even in 2017, we had that one loss, and and all 3 losses were kind of questionable. We got blown out by Auburn, and then we got lost against South Carolina. We don't have a blemish in our schedule, so we can kind of relax a little bit, and that scares me too. That scares me a little bit, knowing that we don't technically have to win, but I want them to, and I hope they go in there and make a statement and show why we're the best in the country, and don't give anybody a doubt. And actually, also, don't give the committee the urge to put Alabama in with 2 losses, which I feel like that's something that they might want to do. And it's completely unfair because when Georgia lost to Alabama in 2018, in the 2018 SEC championship game, in a close game at the last second touchdown, we had 2 losses. They put us in. They put us at 5 because Oklahoma beat Texas in the Big 12 championship game. So they put us at 5 behind Oklahoma. So they better not go turn around with the exact same situation and then with a 2-loss Alabama team sneak them in at 4. I'm going to be so pissed if that happens. We're losing to them in the semifinal. The story's already written at that point. But anyway, I digress. But yeah, we need to not even give them the urge or the temptation to put them at 2. If you go in there and beat them by 21 or 14 or 10 or even 6, 17 or 14, you can't put a 2-loss Alabama team who just lost by double digits in the SEC championship game. You can't put them in the playoffs. So don't even give them the idea that, they lost by 3 points, they lost by 4 points. They're good enough to be in the playoffs. Don't even give them that idea. Take care of business, win by double digits, move on from that, and get ready for a championship run. So that's what I think. But we'll definitely have to see what happens. It's going to be very interesting. And let's see what we can do. Let's see who's gonna etch their legacy at Georgia. Stetson Bennett has a chance to do that. Kirby Smart has a chance to do that. Nakobe Dean has a chance to do that. All those guys. So we'll have to see what happens. But what is your closing argument? What do you think? Like I asked, we talked about this after the Florida game. On Sunday morning, when you wake up, what do you expect to know? What do you expect to see when you turn on SportsCenter on Sunday morning? What is going to be the story? Not just the score, but what's the story?
That's a tough one because I said 28-24. Brock Bowers' career day. It would be Brock for 120, 3 touchdowns. And then I do think that the last touchdown will be Kenny McIntosh run, because it's going to be one of them. But yeah, so Brock Bowers' career day as Georgia holds on to beat Alabama 28-24.
Okay, cool. For me, it's going to be Georgia makes a statement, proves you're the best team in the country. I think Stetson Bennett etches legacy, has career day against Alabama. I think Stetson's going to go 240, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. You know what? No, give him 4 touchdowns. Give Stetson 4 touchdowns, and I think we have a defensive score.
There you go.
Well, if that happens, then that's 35 points. Never mind. So I'm gonna give Stetson 3 touchdowns and then a defensive score. I think we can score on defense. We'll score on defense to cement the game and give us a win. So that's what I think can happen. So at least we're both confident that we can win. I hope that we continue this. We continue to keep that confidence. We haven't been proved wrong yet. You know, nobody's has to go back and call us out and be on Cold Sports Takes. So
yeah. So
no. hopefully we continue this journey. There's a story that my son is our good luck charm because he was born on August 31st and the season started that weekend. So he was born on Tuesday, August 31st. The season started that weekend. Excuse me. And we won every game. So he's a good luck charm. So his luck charm will continue and we'll win. And we're going to be national champions at the end of December or at the beginning of January. So that's what I think.
So if that does happen, you got to have another kid by August next year, right?
Yeah, we have to, right? Yeah, that'll be the plan. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm going to be so mad. Well, I'm not going to be mad, but I'm 25 years old. I've waited 25 years for Georgia to win a national championship. And then my son gets it year one. Like, that's so like spoiled, man. Yeah. Like, that's so he gets spoiled like that. You win year one, and I waited 25 years, and he gets it year one.
Because they the same thing about the Braves. Yeah.
Yeah, the Braves too. Yeah, man. See, he's getting spoiled already. He's getting, but that's okay. I'll allow it because I like it too. I guess you ride the coattails of his good luck. So
yeah, but like he doesn't know the pain, the suffering. It doesn't feel the same.
He does it. You're exactly right. Yeah, you're right. And I hope that he doesn't get used to it because it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen every year. But yeah, I hope he doesn't feel the pain and suffering that I did though, because it's miserable. We both know how that feels. It's miserable.
Oh yeah. No, I don't wish that pain on anybody outside of rivals, of course. But like neutrals, no, don't wish that on anybody.
I don't know. You don't want this. Anybody listening or watching this, and you're a fan of anybody else, I don't wish this upon any of you who if you're a Georgia fan, you definitely know what we're talking about. It's the worst thing in the world. But if you're not, I'm sorry, and I hope that we can. I'm not sorry, but I hope that we can join that upper echelon of college football teams. We're due, man. We're due for that. So let's win this weekend, and let's make that statement. It's an exciting time, this time of year, and let's go get it. Let's go get it. So that's it for me. You got anything else you want to say?
Not much, really. We covered a lot of the players, matchups, like. Might need to say a prayer one way or the other Saturday afternoon, 4:00. And like always, if we do lose, we're not doing this again. So that's it for me. So
yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, that's it for us. So thank you so much for joining us. Let's hope everybody tunes in on Saturday. The SEC championship game should be a good one. Should be a great matchup. SEC championship games always end up being these types of games. So let's see what happens, and hopefully we'll be catching up with you guys for the college football playoff preview with your 13-0 Georgia Bulldogs. So that's us signing off, and go Dogs.
Go Dogs, baby.